Hello, hi sisters. Welcome to the Body Ally podcast, where we learn how to stop battling with our bodies and with food from a faith-based approach. And instead, we learn how to be an ally with our bodies, partnering with them as the gift that God intended them to be. We're learning how to pursue health goals, weight loss, not in an effort to prove our value, but as an act of love. I'm your host, Kerrie Nygaard. My voice has probably dropped a few, maybe even an octave, I don't know. My voice is low. Why? Because I got a little bit of a cold. So excuse me as I go through the topic for today. We're going to get into knowing the basic things about your brain, the things that are keeping you from getting your health goals without you even realizing it. And when you know a few basic things about your brain and leverage these things to your benefit, you're able to get the results that you desire. And when it comes to food and body, your results are usually your health goals. And for many of you, it's weight loss. Here's the thing though, I want you to realize it's not just weight loss, it's health, it's vitality, it's wellness, it's mobility, it's freedom. That's what we're seeking. Okay, so though I run a successful program called Freedom with Body and Food, or FBF, where I help faith-based women come to this place of having peace and harmony with their body and with food so they can find greater ease in reaching their health goals. My larger business is called Brain Management 101, where I teach 8 basic things that people need to know about their brains. And when they know these basic things about their brain, they're able to leverage these facts to their benefit so that they're in control of their lives and not at the effect of the hardwiring of their brain. This is what you need to know. Your brain is hardwired for survival. And so these 8 basic things are 8 basic ways in which your brain seeks for survival, but that aren't necessarily helpful. We need to supervise our lower brain. But in order to be able to supervise our lower brain, we're much better at it when we understand some basic things about it. So let me get into brain basic number 1, which is this. And then I'm going to relate it to food, behaviors, food relationship. Your brain thinks its thoughts are facts. For example, you can look out the window and you could see blue sky, you could see green grass, and you could say, it's a beautiful day. That is not a fact. The facts, that's my interpretation. That's my meaning I've attached to the day. So there's actual facts, and then there's the meaning that we attach to them. Most of our thoughts are meanings. They're just optional meanings that we're attaching to the facts, to the solid circumstances of our life. The problem is that our brain gets these facts and thoughts all jumbled up. Other facts of outside would be the barometric pressure, the temperature gauge, the visibility. These are the facts. Anything else is just our meaning that we've attached to the facts. So when I say it's a beautiful day, that's the meaning I attach to it, not the actual fact. Why does that even matter? Why should you even care? Because the quality of your relationship with food and with your body is only as good as the quality of your thoughts about food. Whatever the quality of the thoughts you have about food, that is the reality in which you will experience your relationship with food. But if you think that those thoughts are facts, then you give up all of your agency, all of your God-given power of choice to make it be anything different. When we know a few basic things about our brain and leverage it to our benefit, we get to operate in a high level of agency in our thinking. But you have to first understand that your brain gets confused and thinks that thoughts are facts. Even just listening to different people have conversations, listen to them and think, okay, that's a fact. And what makes something a fact? We'll think in terms of something that you could even permit as evidence in a court of law. You wouldn't put in a court of law, it was a beautiful day outside. They'd say, what do you mean it was a beautiful day? You'd have to have facts, right? And so the same is true for our brain, is that our brain gets confused as to what is fact and what is thought. We need to, over 90% of our thinking is automated in our lower subconscious hardwired survival brain. It's only less than 10% of our thinking that's conscious. It's the part I'm using as I'm talking right now. It's the part you're using as you listen to me and derive meaning from what I'm saying. But down here, over 90% of your thinking occurs. It is automated and subconscious. This is important to know because if your subconscious is automatically attaching meaning to things in your life without you supervising it, then you are not in control with the experience that you have in your life. You have to become aware to the meaning that your brain is attaching to things so that you don't inadvertently allow your brain to attach meaning that will give you a unintended result. And I'm going to give you some more examples here in a minute. But first, you need to understand, again, that over 90% of your thinking is automated in your lower brain. There's also a part of your brain called the RAS, and this part of your brain is like your brain's assistant. It's like your personal assistant. Millions of pieces and bits of information are coming into your brain every day, but you're not consciously aware of all of it. The only parts, the very small little bits of information that you are consciously aware of, are the parts that you consciously have told your brain to pay attention to. So how does this show up with your relationship with food? Okay, so remember, your brain thinks thoughts are facts, and your brain has a filter, like an assistant filter, like a database filter called the RAS, that only brings to your awareness the bits of piece of information that will affirm the thoughts that you think are facts. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a belief, okay? You have a thought to this effect: I just can't control myself around food. Okay, now, if you have that thought, I can't control myself around food, it's not a fact, it's a thought. And I know you have lots of evidence, those of you who have that thought, you have lots of evidence to believe this thought, maybe past behaviors. But realize, if you think I can't control myself around food, if you think that, okay, if you choose to believe that, your lower brain will go to work to only bring you bits and pieces of information that will affirm that belief or that thought. And then that thought begins to grow roots, and it feels very true for you, and it becomes part of your identity. And then your relationship with food is such where you feel out of control and you've given up your agency to it. You've given up your God-given power of choice to food, all stemming from thoughts like, I can't control myself around food. You don't pay any attention to the times when you do control yourself around food. You don't pay any attention to what it could have been. You only pay attention to the negative little experiences that your brain cherry picks to bring to your awareness to affirm the belief that you cannot trust yourself around food. And when you think I can't trust myself around food, you probably feel an emotion like defeat or hopelessness. And when you feel defeat, hopelessness, or shame, how do you act? Well, that shame and guilt and helplessness and defeat, these emotions feel terrible. And so we usually try to escape those emotions by seeking pleasure in things like food. And when the food's present, then what do? We overeat it. Or it might be a larger, grander scale. You might restrict because you think I can't control myself around food. So I never bring certain foods into the house, and I am scared to go to different events that I'm going to overeat the food. And then you restrict, and then the pendulum swings the other way, and then you binge and overeat. And then your brain doesn't pay attention to the times you didn't eat. It only pays attention to the times that you did. And it says, yep, you can't control yourself around food. So thinking that you can't control yourself around food produces the emotion that then fuels the acts that creates more evidence to continue to believe it. It's a thought loop that reaffirms itself. This type of thought loop, though, isn't upward spiraling. It doesn't lead you upward towards your goals. It takes you down away from your goals. So it's really important that you pay attention to knowing what is fact and what is thought, and that you shift those thoughts. So let's continue with the same example. If you think I can't control myself around food, and it leads you in that same thought loop, how do you get out of it when you have so much evidence to believe it? Well, your brain is not going to believe a complete 180 where you say, I'm completely in control with food all the time, 100%, 24/7, in control with food. Your brain won't believe that because it's believed and collected evidence to believe something different. However, you can create a bridging thought that's a little bit less cruddy. For example, you can ask your brain a question. How is it possible that I could become someone who's in control with food? How do other people who are in control with food, how are they that way? How would it be possible for me to become someone who's in control of food? When you start to think in terms and actually ask your brain a good question, it will go to work to try to find different evidences to answer that question for you. And now you're no longer looking for evidence. Your lower assistant, your RAS, is no longer only pulling evidence to believe that you can't trust yourself around food. It's pulling evidence to believe ways in which it is possible for you to be in control with food. Now, there's other ways to do this. I work with people in lots of modalities, mental and physical, to be able to help collect evidence for your brain to believe something different. But just like you see that behind me there, I have this scale, right? where you put weights on one side and then it tips. Your brain will believe whatever it has the most evidence to support. And so you need to make sure that you understand the difference between thought and fact, and know that all of your thoughts are optional. And the reason, and you have to be careful, because the thoughts that you attach to food will be the direct reflection of your experience or your reality that you will have with food. That's how that will work. You create your experience, your relationship with food based upon how you manage your brain. Now, I understand that because of diet culture, and that you were raised in diet culture, so was I. And not only that, before the age of about 7 or 8, you don't have the brain development to be able to be critical or skeptical about things that are taught you. You just absorb it all as a sponge. And it isn't until about age 12ish that you're able to have awareness to be able to think about your thoughts, to be able to be a supervisor of those thoughts. So as an adult, if you have a bunch of diety thoughts, that your brain has already created thought loops that have led to you having a relationship with food that is not of good quality, I want you to know that it doesn't mean you're past hope. It doesn't mean you can't create a relationship with food that is one of peace and ease, or at least 50, 80, 90% better, because a little bit of intention in your thoughts goes a long way. And when you understand a few basic things about your brain, you can leverage this information to your benefit so that you're creating your results in your life and not at the effect of your lower survival-obsessed brain that can't tell the difference between fact and false. Your lower brain, now I'm not talking about your conscious thinking self that you're using right now, I'm talking about your lower subconscious automated brain. It cannot tell the difference between right and wrong, truth and error. That is the job of the higher functioning parts of your brain. And so you do not want to let your lower brain operate without your supervision. It will wreak havoc in your life. It's like letting a toddler drive the car. It won't get very far before it creates pandemonium. When it comes to your relationship with food and with your body, pay attention. Are your thoughts such that they produce emotions that are fruit of the spirit type emotions? Or do your thoughts, the meaning that you've attached to your body and to food, are they of the quality that actually leave you with low frequency, low quality emotions like shame, guilt, hopelessness? These type of emotions drag you down and create thought loops that cycle in a downward cycle, giving you results that do not produce good fruit. What are some other thoughts that tend to be downward spiraling thought loops because of you thinking that a thought is a fact, or allowing your brain to think that a thought is a fact? Here are some other ones that tend to show up. So you might have thought, I can't be trusted around food. You could shift that thought into, I can learn. I can become someone who can trust myself with food. What if you think that I need to earn my food? Like I have to work out before I can give myself permission to eat. How about instead, my body deserves to be fed consistently, no earning required. I will feed my body according to my hunger and fullness cues. I trust her to lead the way. Here's one. I already messed up today, so I might as well keep going. Not a fact, just a thought. A really weird thought, by the way. Side note, where else, anywhere else in our life would we say, oh, I messed up today, I might as well keep going? Oops, I said an unkind thing accidentally, lost my cool with one of my children. I guess I'll really just yell at him the rest of the day. Oops, I dropped my phone. Now, all is lost. I'll just jump up and down on it instead. Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that anywhere else in your life, but because of diet mentality, thought patterns, so many women think, I've already messed up today, I might as well keep going. It makes no sense whatsoever, but your brain believes it as a fact. And then you overeat. And when you overeat, it reaffirms the same thought to continue to be thought over and over, and it downward cycles. So instead of thinking I already messed up today, so I might as well keep going, instead think one choice doesn't define my day. I can reset at any point. I could connect with my body and make my next choice be from love and presence. Or thinking in terms that some foods are good and some foods are bad, and that I'm good or bad based upon the foods I do and don't eat. How about this? All food nourishes me. I seek for the foods that allow me to feel the way I want to feel in my body. How about this? I can't keep foods in the house. I can learn to feel safe around all foods. How about this? Once I lose weight, then I'll feel in control. Here's the thing is that you think that you can't feel in control until you've lost the weight. So then the journey to lose the weight is fraught with feeling like you're out of control. And then you're really unlikely to get there. And even if you do, you haven't created an internal structure in your thoughts and emotions to support that result. So instead of thinking, once I lose the weight, then I'll feel in control, how about feeling in control comes from how I choose to feel right now? I can choose to feel in control right now. How about this one? I just need more discipline. I don't think that's the case. Buckling down and gearing up has never really got you long-term results. Short-term, yes. Long-term, no. For long-term results, how about this? I need more compassion, curiosity, awareness, and skill building. That's what you need, not more discipline. That could give you some results, but for a short period of time. I find that people that try to gear up and buckle down, even when they get to their goal, what happens is that they have all this angst about even being able to stay there. They aren't able to remain there. So what I recommend, rather than thinking that, oh, I can't feel in control until I get there, how about you become the person who's in control in the process by changing your thought and emotion loops and behaviors? By first understanding that your brain's kind of funny and it thinks facts are thoughts or thoughts are facts. That's what it is. It confuses the two. So get clear on that. Start watching your brain. What are diet thoughts that you've thought for a long time that you think are fact, but after you're listening today, you know they're not true? All right, ladies. So like, subscribe, share this episode with others so that others can get this message as well. Look in the description below to be able to join with me on other free content or offerings that I have. I have links down below. And remember, you are not put here on this earth to struggle with food and with your body, but rather these struggles are intended to grow you into becoming. Thanks so much, ladies, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.